This is the Schmo with the Pro, the Olympian, the former two-division champion, the future Hall of Famer as both a fighter and broadcast for the UFC, DC Daniel Cormier in the flesh here in Houston, moments before UFC 262. How we doing?
I'm doing good, man. Every time we talk, I say I'm not going to laugh and like kind of go crazy when you start to talk, but it's awesome, man. I feel great. I'm excited about the fights tonight. Fans in the arena, you know, from Jacksonville to now Houston. Feels like things are starting to round back into normal, and I can't wait to get there.
A few days ago, El Cucuy, Tony Ferguson, he stole the show at the press conference, man. We were talking about Texas-sized bonuses, the fight night bonus going from $50K to $75K, the Dana White privilege comment to Michael Chandler, man. What do you make of the antics from El Cucuy?
El Cucuy stole the show, man. Tony Ferguson was absolutely on fire at the press conference, and he was putting everybody on notice, right? It wasn't just Beneil Dariush. It was Michael Chandler and anyone else that had anything to say. Look, man, Tony Ferguson is an interesting character, but he understands what he needs to do tonight, knows that he's in a real tough situation. So you can see that with the changes that were made around Tony Ferguson as he heads into this fight tonight. But Beneil Dariush is a real problem for anyone in the lightweight division.
Hypothetically speaking, who's got their back against the wall more with a loss? Is it Conor McGregor or Tony Ferguson?
Oh, it's Tony Ferguson. It's Tony Ferguson, without question, because Tony was the guy that for a long time was thought to be 1A to Khabib, right? It was Khabib was 1, Tony was 1A, and he was the interim champion, had won 12 fights in a row. Nobody could do anything with Tony Ferguson. But then not only did he lose those last 2 fights, he got dominated, right? And as you age, you start to lose fights in that way. It's a question. For Conor McGregor, you know, his star doesn't shine any less brighter regardless whether he wins or loses, right? It's almost like the wins and losses don't matter. They matter to him competitively, but to the world it's not that big a deal, and to the organization it's not that big a deal, because when Conor wants to fight, you still get to fight. If you're Tony Ferguson and you can't win fights, it becomes hard, right? Every time they schedule you, understanding where you are in terms of your career, but also the price tag that comes with a Tony Ferguson. Conor's price tag can be astronomical because the revenue's astronomical. I'm not certain that's the case for Tony Ferguson.
A few days ago, the boss man, Dana White, he confirmed that Derek Lewis is next for Francis Ngannou. If Derek Lewis is next and he does beat Francis Ngannou, does Jon Jones lose leverage at the negotiation table?
I don't think so. I think anybody Jones fights is a valuable fight at heavyweight, right? Because for so long, people have talked about it. And when there is a conversation, if the topic keeps being brought up over the course of time, it is valuable. And I think that's the case for Jones, because as far back as I can remember, 2011, 12, when Jones had the belt for a few years, people were calling for him to go up to heavyweight. That has not changed 9 years later. So that topic and that conversation has been around for so long. It doesn't matter if it's Derek Lewis. It doesn't matter if it's Francis. It doesn't matter if it's Stipe. It doesn't matter who the opponent is. As long as it's a guy at heavyweight, a real guy, right? It has to be a real guy. People are going to tune in to watch Jones fight in that weight class.
Moving on to the other division where you held about the light heavyweight division is the match to make Jiri Prochazka against Aleksandar Rakic.
Right now, yeah, I believe if they're going to fight, right, if Prochazka's going to fight, again, Rakic needs another fight after his last performance, right? We can all agree that it wasn't typical of how he fights. Rakic versus Prochazka, winner gets the champion, makes all the sense in the world. But could you imagine if Prochazka fights Jan Blachowicz over there in Europe? They could sell out a stadium, man. That's a massive fight. And but Glover Teixeira, the old man, the old dog, 42 years old, dude's got his sights set on that championship. And his fighting style is very dangerous for anyone, especially a guy like Jan Blachowicz, a striker.
The Schmo knows you like your Saturday morning cartoons. We feel like the Nick Diaz situation. It's like dangling one of those raw steaks on a rope right in front of our face. Do you believe in your heart we're going to see Nick Diaz fight next? And if we do, who do you think is a good opponent for him?
You know, I saw Nick in Florida, and Nick looks in phenomenal shape. He seems to want to be around the sport again, and that's normally what you get with the guys that have been around the stars. They start to come around, then you start seeing them at fights, and all of a sudden you start seeing, oh, this guy wants to fight. I believe Nick does fight. Do I believe Nick should fight a Khamzat Chimaev? No. I believe that when he comes back, it should be somebody a little bit less than those guys way at the top of the division. You know, he's been away for a really long time. And it's unfair when a guy like Nick comes back. And I'm not saying he can't win. I'm just saying you stick him in there with these killers. No, give him a guy that's been around for a while. Let him get his feet back wet in the octagon. And then you start to move him back towards the top of the division.
Yeah, the Schmo can tell you didn't approve of us throwing out Khamzat Chimaev's name at the UFC 261 post-fight press conference.
It's just too much. It's like, I think it's too much for right away, right? This kid's young. This kid's been active. Nick hasn't fought in 5-6 years. You know what I'm saying? So while I do get excited, right, I do say, oh my goodness, a fight like that, sure, but not right now. I say a guy that's hanging around the bottom of the top 15, maybe just a Robbie Lawler, maybe. That'll be a fantastic fight. It's a fight that we've all wanted to see. So I mean, something like that, I believe, would be more suited for a return fight.
UFC 263, the style bender, man. He's headlining against Marvin Vettori in Glendale, Arizona. He's coming off his first professional loss in MMA. What kind of style bender do you expect to come out there guns blazing over there in the June pay-per-view card?
Same guy. I think Israel Adesanya is just built different. I don't believe that this loss is going to affect him in the long term. I understand there are times when young fighters lose, it messes with the psyche. I don't feel that for Adesanya. I feel he's going to be as good as he's always been. But the question is, Marvin Vettori is so dangerous. Is that good Adesanya going to be enough to beat Vettori with the style that he's able to bring into the octagon? And watching Vettori in the last fight against Kevin Holland, his ability to secure takedowns over 5 rounds makes it an even more interesting fight than the fight that they had years ago.
Yeah, speaking of Kevin Holland, has he hit you up on that wrestling practice at AKA?
You know, we've spoken to Kevin Holland. He has a son, right? So he has to wait for his son to get out of school, and then his son can go and visit his grandparents and everybody else, and then he'll get some time. But by the end of this month, Kevin Holland's going to be in San Jose, be training with us. He's going to drive out because he wants to have a car in town, right? So he'll park it and then go back and forth until he understands how to do this wrestling thing. And if he gets it, man, I believe that this kid's an absolute star. It's just a matter of cleaning up that hole. And you and I both know in today's mixed martial arts, wrestling can't be the deficiency. It has to be. You can be a decent striker. You can't be a bad wrestler. You can be a decent grappler. You can be a bad grappler almost, but you cannot be a bad wrestler because they just keep throwing you to the ground over and over again. And Kevin right now, honestly, is a bad wrestler. He doesn't understand it enough, but he will after spending some time, and his willingness to go out and find it shows that he's that serious about his career.
Speaking of AKA, your buddy, your lover, Luke Rockhold, he wants to come back, man. Apparently the guys in the top 10, they're turning him down. Who's a good opponent for Luke Rockhold?
I think anyone should be chomping at the bit to fight Luke Rockhold. I mean, it's a former champion, Strikeforce champion. Anybody that gets an opportunity should be wanting to fight Luke Rockhold, especially back at 185. Because at 185, he still will be as dangerous as anyone in the world. Maybe that's why they're not wanting to fight him. But I'm excited Luke's coming back. I'm excited that he had some time to recover, rest, get away. Because when you look back on the Jan Blachowicz fight, it's aged good, right? Because Jan has done that to numerous people. So I don't have a name at the tip of my tongue, but I know that when he's back, he's going to be another real contender in the middleweight division.
And we'll wrap up on this. The Schmo still doesn't understand, DC. You took the bait, man. You confronted Jake Paul at UFC 261. Come on, man. I thought we don't punch down.
Well, you don't. You know what I did, Schmo, was I just want to let him know, hey, because if the kid and I if there was nothing happening that day, I would have ignored it. But just in the face, it's hard to ignore a situation like that. But here's the thing. It's done now. And that's what I love, right? It's like you challenge in a way that they would never accept, and now it's over. And now I can go about living my life. So it was a bit of a situation that got handled there, and now we're on to the next thing.
He's always a pro.
Wait, one more thing,
okay,
before I get done. Hey, I want to give a special congratulations to my man Arjan Bhullar. Last night he won the ONE FC championship over Brandon Vera, first Indian champion. Heavyweight champion of all time. Listen, this is a country of millions and millions of people. Billion people, I believe, in India. And Arjan Bhullar is your first heavyweight champion. So shout out to my man Arjan. Arjan, from that young kid that walked into the Olympic Training Center way back in 2006 to the guy that came into AKA whenever we were all training. I understood and always knew, my man, that only greatness would be enough for you. And today, you achieved greatness. Congratulations, my friend, and welcome to the club. Another heavyweight from AKA that holds a major championship.
The Schmo loves how you took control. We're going to set you up for the final message for the DC fans, and you didn't disappoint. We knew you were going to talk about Arjan Bhullar. We love the stick, by the way. The stick.
Oh, it's awesome, right? It shows his heritage, shows how much he loved his background, and Arjan is a man that is truly, truly inspiring. When people get to know him, they will appreciate him more. And I saw something recently. I said, I wish he went to the UFC. I can't wait. No, he's been there. And Arjan Bhullar didn't flame out of the UFC. He was 3-1 in the UFC and decided to go and make it in a place where he can have a little bit more money and that international appeal, right, over there in ONE FC, where it's closer to his home country. So, Arjan, you did your thing, man, and I'm proud of you.
The Schmo watched him get a victory in Japan. He's the pro and future first ballot Hall of Famer, Daniel Cormier. I'm the Schmo in Houston, Texas. We're out.